Alright, you just got Blender and congratulations on completing this step to dive into this creative journey. I know you guys are super excited to create your first 3D model. But hold on, before that I want to introduce you to different panels, workspace, tools and overlays to get you familiar with the interface. In this lesson, we are going to talk about Workspace. Let me tell you that Blender is divided into several sections or workspace. By default, Blender starts in the layout workspace. What is Workspace? Think of it as a workstation where you get all the panels, tools, manipulators to create models, to do sculpting or animate. You can find them at the top of your screen. By default, Blender starts in the layout workspace. But there are others like modeling, sculpting, UV editing, texture paint, shading, animation, etc. Each offering a unique set of tools and panels. Switching between these workspaces will optimize your workflow depending on the tasks you are working on. Layout workspace is your all-in-one setup where you can view your scene and access basic tools. The modeling workspace focuses on mesh editing, perfect for when you are shaping your character. Sculpting gives you access to advanced brushes to add fine details to your models. UV editing is where you will unwrap your model surface to apply textures. Shading allows you to work with materials and create realistic surfaces. We have the animation workspace. This is where the magic happens. You can bring your character to life with keyframes and movements. Up next, we have rendering workspace, where you can see the final output. We have compositing workspace, where we use nodes to composite the final scene. We have geometry nodes, where you can use nodes to create dynamic objects. We have scripting workspace, where we can use Python to modify objects. Here we can see there are more workspaces. I want you to go to all of these workspaces one by one. Let's go to layout workspace. Blender is divided into several sections. If I go here, you can see all of the sections and the editor types. If I can change it to, if I change it to like timeline, you can see this timeline here. If I change it to outliner, you see these outliners. If I change it to like properties, you can see we have the properties panel here. You can switch one editor to another editor from here. Let me go to 3D viewport again. I can change this editor types from here too. If I click it, I have access to all the editor types. I can go to 3D viewport editor, you can see. If I click it, you can see the camera and the objects. If I can change it to outliners, you can see the same panel. You can see if I switch to properties, I can see the properties tab. I can see the properties editor. So you can switch to one editor to another editor from here too. Let's go back to timeline. Similarly, we can change from here. There are options from each editor. You can switch editor from going to this icon also. Here are like we have 3D viewport, you can see. You have properties tab, you have graph editor. There are lots of editors here. You can change editor types from here too, from this icon. This is the editor properties type. This is the properties editor types icon. If I change it to 3D viewport, you can see the 3D viewport. If I change it to properties, it changed to properties. Now if you want to add a section or properties here vertically, all you have to do is just go here on the boundary, and when the double key icon appear, just click and you can choose the option like split horizontally. If I click it, if I choose the vertical split, and if I select this bar and enter it, you can see this viewport is split into two. I can join them by going to the boundary, and when the two arrow icon appears, I just click and choose the option called join areas and drag it here. Now it is joined. I can swap between the editors type, like if I go here and if I click it, you can see there is an option called swap areas. If I select it, you can see the editor types is swapped. If I again click it, I choose this option swap areas, you can see it change the position. So you can do lots of things. You can take any editor types and place anywhere you want.
Now let's move on to another important editor type called outliner.
You can see the outliners on the top right corner. The outliners is a vital tool in Blender that help you see and manage everything in your scene. It's like a list or table of contents for your project. The key features of these outliners are it shows all the objects in your scene, like models, lights and cameras. Objects are displayed in a hierarchy. That means that if one object is parented to another, it will appear under it. Visibility control. Next to each object's name, you will see icons that let you control what is visible. We have the eye icon. It toggles whether the object is visible in the viewport. Next we have the camera icon. Toggles whether the object is rendered when you hit the render button. If I click it and if I disable it in renders, and now if I render this scene, these objects are not going to be visible in the final export. We have some more options. If we go here, we can enable more options like this. It is called the selectable. It is very important option. It allow you to enable or disable selection for your objects or lights or cameras or even for collections. If I select this cube and if I disable it, I cannot select it in this viewport. To select it, I have to enable it again. Similarly, I can do it for the collections. If I click it and disable it, I cannot select any items under this collection. To select it, I have to enable it. Next, we have the right click menu. If I right click, I can see there are more options. Like we can create a new collections. And if I select this collection and double click, I can rename the collection. Like let's call it mesh. I can put any of these items under this collection. Like if I select this cube and I drag it under the collection, now it is under this collection called mesh. Now I can select this collection and control the visibility from it. If I disable it in renders, this scene render, the mesh collections is not going to be visible in the final export. Next we have the search bar. I can search any items in this scene. I can search lights. You can see I can search light. If I search light, the other items are not going to be visible. It allows us to search for individual items. It is very helpful when you have many items in your scene and you want to look for a particular items. You will use this search bar. Now let me give you some practical tips. Use collection to organize your objects from the start to keep your scene tidy. Always give your object meaningful name so it's easy to find them later. Use this search bar. When your scene gets complex, use the search bar to quickly locate objects. Use the visibility toggles to focus on what you need to work on without distraction.
Up next, we have the properties panel. It is one of the most important panel in Blender. Here you have several tabs. First, we have the active tool panel. It changes dynamically based on the workspace you are currently on. It provides real-time options that affect how that tool behaves. As I switch to different workspace, you can see the active tool panel changes accordingly. Next we have render properties tab. It controls all the settings relative to rendering your scene, like which render engine to use, sampling quality, performance and more. Next is output properties tab. It is used to control how and where your renders are saved. Here we have the resolution. It controls the width and height of your final render in pixels. By default, it's set to 1920 into 1080. You can adjust this to any size. Like instead of 1920, I'll change it to 1080. Now it is looking square shape. Next we have the aspect ratio. It defines the pixel aspect ratio, not the image shape. Next is frame range. It sets the start and ending frames for animation rendering. Next we have the output. For image, we have several of them like PNG, JPEG, EXR and more. For animation or video, you can choose FFmpeg for MP4. For video, you can choose container like MPEG-4 and video codec H.264. In the output quality, you can choose high quality. Next is View Layer tab. It manages visibility of object in the current view layer. As I switch to Compositing tab, as you notice, when I enable any pass, it appears in the Render Scene node. These are useful in compositing. We will explore them in later lesson. Next is Scene Properties tab. It controls scene-wide settings such as units, gravity, audio, rigid body simulations and more. Next is World Properties tab. It controls the environmental setting of your scene, mainly how the background looks and how it affects lighting. Next is Collection Properties tab. It shows setting for the currently selected collection. It is not an important tab. Now let's move on to Object Properties tab. It manages settings specific to the currently selected object in your scene. It controls object transformations, visibility settings in viewport or in render. Next we have the modifiers. A modifier is like non-destructive effect or operation you apply to an object to change its shape, appearance or behavior without permanently altering the geometry. For example, the subdivision modifier here smooths the object by subdividing its face into smaller face. This makes low poly object look smooth and rounded. Next we have Particles tab, where you create and control particle system for your selected object. From here you can add emitter particle for effects like dust, spark or other particle based effects, or hair particles for hair and fur. Up next we have Physics Properties tab. It lets you apply realistic physical behavior to objects so they can simulate movement, collisions or interactions automatically. Next we have the Constraint tab. These are rules or relationships that control an object's behavior relative to other object. We will look at it in a later lesson. Next is Object Data Properties tab. It shows and controls settings specific to the data linked to the object, such as mesh, curve or text data. It mainly deals with vertex group, shape keys, etc. For example, we have here the vertex group. These are the group of vertices of your mesh. You can assign vertices to groups to control where modifier, white painting or armature bones affect the mesh. For example, here I will choose these vertices and assign them to this group. Now I'll add a displace modifier. Here you can see the displace modifiers move vertices of your mesh based on a texture. When we assign a vertex group to a displace modifier, only the vertices in their groups are affected. This lets you control exactly where the displacement happens on your mesh. Next we have the shape keys. These are used to store different deformations of a mesh and blend between them. They are often used for facial expression, lip sync, muscle movement or more. For demonstration, I will create two shape keys and switch to edit mode. Now I will select and rip the vertex, pressing the V key and make an opening. Now this info will be stored in the shape key. And when I slide the value, it will show us the edit we did to it. Next we have the Materials tab. The Materials tabs let you define how an object surface looks, including color, shyness, transparency and more. It controls the shading and appearance of the object in the 3D viewport and render. Next is texture, to add deformation on the mesh. I can add noise or other texture to deform the surface of a mesh. This concludes this lesson. See you in the next chapter.